Class. Okay, so this is chapter 12 of the Lavellan. Now before we start, I need to remind you that there is a health task to do this week. You must have completed it by Friday. And to find it, I think you go into the classwork section on Google Classroom and yeah, try and do it today if you can, because then you've got tomorrow and Friday to not worry about it. So do it today and yeah, that'll be grand. Okie dokie, so chapter 12. Now, if you just remember, they'd come up with a plan, and the plan was to use the other animals. So Eric had rung to say that he would trade Darwin for Taurus and the Lavellan. And so they're going to use the other animals to help them get Darwin back. But I don't think they've got any intention of letting him keep Taurus and the Lavellan, or Darwin. Mom had rung another cryptozoologist and had managed to borrow his lorry for tomorrow. Won't the police stop us? I asked. I mean, how would we be able to explain it's an essential journey? Mum smiled, but didn't meet my eyes. She was hiding something. All she would say was that when the lockdown began, she and her colleagues were issued government cards which stated she was a key worker. I was doubtful. Key workers were NHS people, shop workers, farmers. I'm pretty sure cryptozoologist wasn't on any key worker list that I knew of. And I'm pretty sure the government wasn't handing out cards to them. But Mum wouldn't say any more, for the time being. And I didn't question it either. If it meant we could make it to Eric's and get Darwin back, it was fine by me. I had told Mum about the Lavellan coming so close to me yesterday, and she had got so excited that we might be able to catch it, but I felt uneasy about the whole thing. If we could catch it, then it would never trust me again. I felt like I'd built up a good friendship with it, and it seemed a shame to throw it all that away. Mum pointed out that it was either that or lose Darwin, and I made up my mind instantly. I had to wear thick gardening gloves. The Lavellan was highly poisonous, and if I stroked it, I might get hurt. Mum wanted to come, but had to stay and look after the others. She wasn't sure, she said, if Eric would try and take Taurus on his own, and therefore keep Darwin. So she stayed to look after the water bull, with Sheba curled up beside her. Sheba had been in a good mood since yesterday, and I think she was looking forward to causing mayhem and havoc for Eric. Instead of taking one large fish, I chopped it into little bite-sized chunks. I was also carrying Sheba's vet cage and feeling like I was the nastiest, most vindictive friend on the planet. I'd built up a friendship with the Lavellan, and now I was planning on trapping it. I couldn't feel any of the excitement from before as I placed the fish in the trail leading to the cage. Inside the cage, I put the rest of the fish and hoped it was too tempting a treat for the Lavellan to ignore. Then I lay down on the grass, facing the long grasses. 10 minutes later, the Lavellan's now familiar face poked out. I was torn. Half of me desperately wanted it to go into the cage for Darwin's sake, and the other half wanted it to turn and run the other way. The creature sniffed the air for a minute, and then took a step forward. He reached the first chunk of fish, and when it had studied it carefully and decided it would be good to eat, ate it in one mouthful. It went on to the next piece of fish and did the same. There were 3 more pieces to go before it got to the cage, and I stayed very still and watched it intently, waiting to close the cage door. Another piece, and another, and then finally the last one. When the Lavellan reached the cage and saw the pile of fish inside, it stopped and sniffed again. Hesitantly, it placed one paw into the cage and tried to reach the fish, but realized it had to place another paw in. With half of its body inside the cage, it could reach far enough to grab a piece of fish and pull it out to eat it on the grass. I realized I was going to have to intervene quickly if I was going to trap the animal. When it poked half of its body in again, I sat up and as gently as I could pushed the other half of the Lavellan so it was fully in the cage. The animal leapt around and sank its teeth into my hand. Well, he managed to pierce through the leather gardening gloves, but they didn't actually reach my hand to bait the skin. As soon as the Lavellan let go to bite again, I whipped my hand out of the cage and closed the door. One smooth move. Mum would be impressed. I looked at the Lavellan, which was peering out of the cage at me, his eyes wide. He tried to bite the bars of the cage, but I was confident that if it could hold Sheba, it could hold the Lavellan. Then it made a noise. It was the sort of mixture between a whimper and a growl like Darwin had made when he'd been shot. Hearing that noise again, and from something that I had trapped, made my chest feel like it had been split in two. The Lavellan wouldn't stop making the noise, and it was staring at me with its liquid blue eyes. I couldn't stand up and take the Lavellan back to the cottage. Not yet. I had to think of another way of getting Darwin without using the Lavellan. I wondered if we could put something else inside the cage and trick Eric into thinking it was the Lavellan, but that would never work. The pitiful noise the Lavellan was making was swimming around my mind, and I decided that I couldn't possibly keep this animal caged up, frightened and away from its family. I knew what it was like to be away from my family, and Mum had said she thought it might have a nest nearby. With this thought, I immediately unlocked the cage door and flung it open. The Lavellan shot out, faster than I'd ever seen it move, and hid itself in the grass. Then I realised what I'd done. Sure, I'd helped the Lavellan, but what about Darwin? What about my friend who I needed to help? I just let go of the one thing I could do to get Darwin back. The Lavellan would never trust me again, and Eric would know if we were trying to trick him. And Mum, what would she say when she found out I'd let the Lavellan go? As I sat there, I sat on the grass and closed my eyes, feeling the enormous weight of failure on my shoulders. As I sat there, feeling like I was sinking into the grass, I realised that something was watching me, and I felt something small but firm on my leg. I opened my eyes and looked down. The Lavellan had come out of the grasses again and had placed its front paws against my leg. Its eyes stared into mine, unblinking. The cage remained open next to me, but it didn't care, and I wasn't going to use it again. I stayed very still, looking at the creature through bleary, teary eyes, and the Lavellan looked back with more understanding than I've ever known from any creature, including humans. And that's the end of the chapter. So I will do another chapter for tomorrow, but not on Friday because we were doing spelling on Friday. So your comprehension questions for today. Number 1, Rex Retriever. Why did the main character have to wear gloves? Why did the main character, I don't know what they're called, why did they have to wear gloves? Okay, question number 2 is probably more inference eggy. Why did the Lavellan come out of the grasses again at the end? Why do you think the Lavellan came out of the grasses again at the end? So the main character had already trapped it and let it go. And, most animals wouldn't really trust or be very quick to trust again if that had happened. So why did it come out of the grasses again? And number 3, predicting Pip. What do you think the main character is going to do next? What do you think they are going to do next? So that is a class novel for today. Answer the questions on Dojo or Google Classroom or wherever you like, as long as I get to see them. I will write another chapter for you tomorrow, and until then, bye for now.